Oh, here we go again, man. Two gay dudes kissing on the bus. That's what I'm talking about. Why you got these, man? They trying to turn everybody gay. You know what I'm saying, bro?
Nah, brother, I really don't know what you're talking about.
I'm saying, you see the bus. You see how they got the two dudes kissing on the joint. It's like commercials. Everywhere you go, everything gay. Youngers walking around with these little the faggy fit jeans and everything. You know what I'm saying?
Well, brother, do you have hate in your heart?
What?
Yeah, that's not the Christianly thing to do. We should love our neighbors.
Man, I ain't loving no gay neighbors, Joe. It ain't say you gotta love your gay neighbors. It don't say love your neighbors. It don't say. I ain't talking about neighbors. I'm talking about faggies. So you say you love faggies?
What I'm saying is, love is the most powerful force in the universe. And Jesus came to show us how we should love our brothers.
Man, you sounding real gay right now, talking about loving some brothers. Hold on, Joe. Nah, look, if you want to tell me something, just let me know. I might be preaching to the choir, man. I'm saying, the faggies, you talking about loving. You know what, man? Forget this, man. I'm going to walk in peace. Brothers and sisters, sometimes your arms is not long enough to box with Spooky in the sky. Spend your time where it's most useful. This is the acting service announcement. War on the horizon. We'll see you on the battlefield. War on the horizon. You gotta love it.
Peace, a BB Hodie.
Peace, Daddy.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Good. Young Princess Lenasia, what you doing?
Nothing, just reading Miseducation of the Negro.
Okay, what chapter you on?
14.
Alright, don't forget to write that summary for me, okay?
Alright.
Young God, what you doing?
Working on my math.
Okay. Kama Yee.
I have a question for you. Who are you and who inspired you to be who you are?
Ooh, a good question.
T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a
screaming and I just watch them and I crack up.
T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a.
I used to run the block, now the universe. First things first, gotta be race first. African central nucleus of my universe. Black's a state of mind. It goes beyond flesh. Hollow points for a pig of the chest in his vest. I'm not the type to go to the club and get high with. I'm the type to go to war with the pigs and die with. My words bond with life. If it fails, give me death. I think before I accident, no need for regrets. My tongue is a sword to sharpen up the dumb. Revenge in my blood for my ancestors hung. Killed, raped, robbed, beaten like animals. Elders blew the war horn. I'm loading up my ammo. First started with the books. Now I'm stuck in shells. I know my enemies, so I'm clapping at the church bells. I'm banging on the faggots, toms and dykes. Bullets for mulattoes that wanna side with the whites. Peace to the NGE for nurturing the seed, a divine entity that lives inside of me. 11/24/79. That's the year God born. Literally, the time is mine. I'm here to raise the standards. Black power manhood. The nation is the basis. My black woman's sacred. Only a lioness is even fit for this lion. I'm all for the violence for protecting the black alliance. Old said, keep going. My well-run deep. Coon rappers keep hoeing. I'ma put them to sleep. Slaving for these crackers, salivating with rabies. But I hunger for destruction, men society not behaving. For my yassa won't let up. Fed up with being fed up. Rebels to the core. Synagogues getting wetter. But you know mad Arabs. Commit his hours. For raping the Sudanese, you'll be drowning in hand showers. I'm in gave me blessings, so I'm fighting like Didon, giving hell to these double cake dwelling Europeans. Awaken the God within. This nation building time. It's wartime.
T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a.
I used to run the block, now the universe mine.
T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a T-R-U-E-L-I-P-I-N. Learn how to be a.
I used to run the block, now the universe mine.
The world is love. All is care, peace. It's time for someone to take control. It's time for a man to for you is absolute power, but the call is the ultimate peace. It's time for a man to rid the world of conflict and allow all men and women, young and old, to live in tranquility. It is time for man to become God, where God has failed.
Peace and welcome to the Message to the Black Fam program. I am your host, Sister Lady Shabazz. I don't know if y'all are tired of hearing from me yet. I think this is the third day in a row. But I do have a really, really special show in store for you tonight. I have my good brother True from United Front on. Everybody seems to like when that brother gets to talking. And basically we were talking one day and we were talking about reformation and just becoming better people. And I think that that's something that is very much missing within the conscious community. You know, we say that we believe one thing, we can quote all these books, but we don't actually internalize it. We don't actually do the introspection and start to look at ourselves and see what kind of healing we need to do, what kind of changes we need to make so that we can be a good example of the philosophies that we preach, be it nationalism, be it Islam, be it whatever you want to say. A lot of us are not really living examples of it. And while nobody's perfect, we do need to be trying to become better. You know, we have definitely been victimized in this country in many different ways. Emotionally, we have issues. Psychologically, we have issues. Behaviorally, we have issues. And it's things that we definitely need to start working on. We can't keep on quoting all of this stuff and you know, knowing this book and that book, but when you look at our lives, you really couldn't tell us from anybody else. It's something that definitely we need to work on. We need to start a metamorphosis, a transformation, and really, really become happy, have our situations, our families, our finances, just everything about our life should be radiating from this knowledge that we have. And if you've had knowledge for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you're still in the same position, you're still hanging around the same people, then that would be a problem. So today we're just going to talk about, as we said, New Year's evolution. It's supposedly a new year. Good a time as any to start over with a clean slate and start making the improvements that we need to make so that we can be more successful and more happy in the new year. So without further ado, I could sit here and run my mouth all day, but I'm going to bring on my brother, my homie, Brother True. How you doing, brother?
Man, I'm doing great, sis. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you too. And I definitely appreciate, because the idea for this show was actually yours. And I thought it was brilliant, as usual. And so what were you thinking about that kind of put this idea into your mind that it could actually be a decent program?
Can you hear me, sis? Because I got you on speakerphone. I want to make sure you can hear me good.
Yes, sir. I can hear you fine.
Okay, great. I would say for me, it's just really observing my own life and just observing the people around me and noticing the great potential we have. And as time goes on, I don't feel, in my personal opinion, I don't feel like we're taking the necessary steps or the steps that we should be taking to improve ourselves individually, collectively, as a nation, as a race, and what have you. So I think that this is something that needs to be spoken about, especially when a lot of people think that having this guy in office, Obama, they think that that's change. And, you know, so obviously the masses don't know or are not aware of what real change is. They're still falling for the okie doke.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, can you tell us a little bit about your life before you had knowledge?
Okay. Before I had knowledge of self, I was very much so in the street. And even while having knowledge of self, I got knowledge of self in 96. I was 16 years old. But during that time, I was still, you know, doing a lot of uncivilized things, a lot of things that went according to the lesson. You know what I mean? So a lot of it was just information, you know, just smoking, drinking, disrespecting myself, disrespecting women, disrespecting my own family, and just, you know, just cutting up in the street, selling drugs, you know, getting arrested, stealing cars, you know, poison music, eating poison foods. I mean, the list goes on. Sis.
Yes, sir. And I can hear you, but if you can speak up just a little bit, you'll come through a little bit more clear. But we can still hear you fine. Just speak up just a little tiny bit. Yeah, that's good. That's good. How did you get knowledge yourself? What made you want to go in that direction? Because we know a lot of times, people hear you try to talk to people and give them knowledge, and they're like, "Nah, I ain't trying to hear that." What was it about you that made you kind of? Because you came in, I believe, through the Nation of Gods and Earths. What made you want to do that?
Right. I would say from as long as I can remember, I was attracted to consciousness. It started into hip hop. I remember just when I think one of the first conscious songs that I heard was that made an impact on me was Intelligent Hoodlum. It's a song called I'm Black and I'm Proud. And ironically, growing up in a Dominican household where being black and considering yourself as African is not the popular thing, I just remember really being impacted by that song and knowing I was black because I'm looking around, my family looks like the same friends that my mother's telling me not to hang with because they're black, but they look just like my family. But I was just attracted to the TV, and so that's one of the, I would say that's one of the things that planted the seed was hip hop. And then during that time, I was young, and I was running in the streets, and because of that, I got sent away to California. And when I got sent away to California, I witnessed a lot of racism, from little Mexican girls telling me that I was cute, but they couldn't date me because I was black. And I'm like, y'all speak Spanish too, but being chased by skinheads, being called the N-word, getting into fights and different what have you. And so I ended up getting into trouble over there too. So I ended up getting sent back to Jersey. And when I got sent back to Jersey, I went to a high school called Eastside High.
You went to Eastside High?
Yeah, Eastside High from the movie Lean On Me.
I love that. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I went to that high school. But Clark wasn't there when I went. But I was in a classroom with a brother. I'm tying it all in. I was in a classroom with a brother. His name was Supreme at the time, and he was just spitting this information, like basically putting the teacher in his place at the time. And I was like, wow. I was just amazed by the wisdom that he had, at least words. And so I was like, why didn't I learn that? You know what I'm saying? So I came up to him and I said, where did you learn that? We in the same grade, we're the same age, we're in the same classroom, but I don't have that information that you have. So he said, all right, he greeted me. He said, all right, come with me to the rally this weekend and I'll show you. And so I went to the rally at a park in Patterson, New Jersey called Montgomery Park, and that's where the Nation of Gods and Earths meet. They still meet there to this day. And I went to a cipher, and there was a brother by the name of Respect Allah, building in the cipher as we call it, and that was it. It was just it was the information, the wisdom and how it flowed. I was just attracted to that. And from then on, I approached the brother. I wanted knowledge of self. I wanted that information. And, that's basically, I would say that was the foundation. Oh, and of course, I got to say this. While I was in California, I was living with a lady, a Mexican lady who gave me the autobiography of Malcolm X. That was another thing that had a major impact in my life. That book changed my life.
Did she buy that for you specifically, or did she just happen to have a copy laying around her house?
She bought it for me specifically.
Okay.
I was staying with her at the time, because I got sent over there to live with my father, but he wasn't around. He got sent away to the Iraq War. And he was like, okay, I got this. I don't really know my father like that. And so I got sent over there to live with him. And then he left. So I'm basically in the house with strangers. And she was like, okay, and I was wilding, a little bit. She was like, okay, I got to teach this guy about his culture. So she bought the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was like.
So she understood, okay, he's black, I'm Mexican, he got to learn about himself. That was basically it.
Yeah, that's powerful. I was like, do the Mexicans just have random copies of that laying around their house, or what? Maybe they know something we don't, but obviously they do, because a lot of us wouldn't have even thought to give our children a book or tell them to find out about themselves. So that's definitely good.
Definitely.
So,
So that's the foundation, I would say.
well, I'm finding out so much. I thought I knew it all. You went to East Side and got the autobiography of Malcolm X from a Mexican lady. This is getting good. Um,
Yeah.
so what issues do you think that you had that needed to be worked on? Because usually, when we're out on the street, I mean, we got all kinds of stuff going on with us. And really, like I said, that doesn't necessarily change just because you get knowledge. A lot of times there's not a lot of difference between the people who have knowledge and the people that don't, except for we like to hold our heads up in the air like we got all the answers, even though we still kind of live in the same. What are some of the things that you felt you needed to overcome?
I would say that I recall at the moment, and this is something that I share with the youth that we work with. I really thought, like I remember I could get into that mind state that my purpose in life was to be a hustler. Like that was the end all be all. That was my purpose, and I was really stuck on that. And something about the nation of gods and earth, when they taught me, they teach, the black man is God. It just opened my world up into a whole different stratosphere. Because here I go thinking that I'm meant to be a hustler, and now I'm learning that I'm God by nature, that I'm this supreme being. So, with that being said, I would say that's the first thing. So, changing the mind state of what my purpose was, and what my destiny was. And I gotta say this, hip hop definitely took a toll and added on to the negativity in my life, because we really looked up to the brothers that was singing that music, and we wanted to copy them. We wanted to be gangsters. I recall, I used to get dressed before I hit the block. I would throw some Mobb Deep on, or some music like that, and I would get into that state of mind. You know what I'm saying? And the poison. I was an alcoholic for a very long time. I started drinking when I was, I'm trying to think, the earliest memory that I might have been. I might have been like 9, 10. I remember, again, growing up in a Dominican household, I went to a lot of parties with my mother. And, I used to be that child that was in the room with all the coats on the bed, you know what I'm saying? Buried in coats with another child somewhere buried in coats. And we would go to parties, and, the adults would give you a sip, so eventually those sips added up. And I even remember I have a memory. I actually have a clear memory of waking up out of the bed one day and throwing up because of all the alcohol I consumed. And later on, that drinking became a habit, and that had me for a long time. Smoking weed, and I actually cheated. I'll say I cheated, meaning because the reason why I stopped smoking weed is because I caught a drug charge as an adult. So, they put me in a drug program. So it was either stop smoking weed or go to jail. And obviously I chose stop smoking weed.
Wow. Yeah, I can attest to that. I mean, hip hop had the same impact on me. It was cool back in the early 90s when it was all Afrocentric, and I had my little kente cloth and my little medallions and all that. But man, once the Chronic came in and everything started going downhill, then all of a sudden, you want to wear the little spandex, or you want to, wear the little short shorts and all this kind of stuff. Because that is how they portrayed womanhood, and that is how you thought that, you were supposed to dress and attract a man and be a woman. That was making you grown, instead of looking at that as I do now, as that's a very immature thing to do. I looked at that like, okay, well, that's how you become a woman. And so hip hop, I think, devastated both men and women. And definitely devastated the relationship between men and women, because before that, it was love songs, and, boys wanted to be your boyfriend. And after hip hop, it was like, no, you ain't nothing but a B or H. I don't want to be your man. I just want to do whatever and send you on your way. It was a completely different atmosphere. Definitely toxic.
Right. So like you said, hip hop was promoted that, black woman was nothing but a B or H. and then not having a positive male role model in the house. So the way I learned how to treat a woman is by, again, going outside, watching the hustlers and the drug dealers, the gangsters. So how do they treat women? So learning those habits. So while you're learning that, I'm also enforcing that, because that's what I'm getting taught. Not growing up, not even with just a positive male role model in the house, but not seeing the family dynamic in action.
Exactly. And luckily, I did have a father who kind of, he didn't stop me from doing a whole lot, but I knew I couldn't do it around him. So, and there were some things I just naturally wasn't going to do. I wasn't into drinking just because, similarly to you, I think I was probably like, I don't know, probably a toddler. Maybe a little bit older, but I saw my father drinking a 40, I think it was OE, and I'm a little kid, I'm the baby, I want some, and he was like, no you don't. Yes I do. And he gave me just a little taste, and it was the nastiest thing I'd ever had in my life. So I didn't have the urge to drink, and I didn't have the urge to do drugs, but it was other things that came about. And it's funny because actually we're almost the same age. I got you by a couple months, but I'm still call you my big brother because it sounds better. I ain't gonna let you be the baby of the group.
I appreciate it. No doubt.
But so yeah, coming up around the same time, it's interesting to hear your perspective, because I was actually getting the female part of it, and like you said, it was very, very toxic. When did you or what do you think needed to be changed the most about you? I know you said the hustling and some other things that weren't really productive. Did you have anything like internally that was making you want to do these things?
I think, let me see, I would say the insecurity of being a man, just wanting to be a man, knowing that I didn't have the skills. I wasn't taught that, so I was chasing what manhood was. So what was a man in my community? Well, a man, he gets fly, he has a lot of money, he drives big cars, he has a lot of women. So I would think the illusion of what manhood is definitely had a major impact. Also, I grew up in I love my mother to death. She did her best, and she provided food, clothing, and shelter for me and my sister. But I grew up in a very harsh, I would say a harsh home. There's even a saying that all the men in my family are hated by the women. It's crazy. I even had my own grandmother tell me that when I was born, I was the first male that she actually felt love for. Now, mind you, my grandmother had sons of her own. But also just growing up in a harsh home, and, it wasn't very nurturing, so that made me not want to be home. So as soon as I grew up, got the age that I can be out by myself and be more independent and be outside more, because home wasn't a sacred place for me. I'd rather just run in the streets and get money and be with my friends. That was my family. But I would say the most important thing too is just the state of mind. Again, just learning that the black man is God. That's why, man, can't nobody say nothing about the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to me. Just learning that the black man is God. It wasn't an overnight thing. It was a process. It was actually years, and I'm still working on that. I just want to say that I still, anybody who knows me would tell you, I'm always reading a self-help book, a book about enhancing my character. Just listen to audiobooks. So this is something, like they say, change the only thing constant in the universe. So this is something that I'm still to this day working on, and I will forever be working on.
Do you know what it was that made your grandmother feel that way, that they hated all the men in your family?
I think, that's another thing too. Nobody's really talking about it, but she was hurt. I learned a couple stories about, because I have about 9 aunts, and I know there's 2 different fathers, and both of those men were foul. And after my grandfather, she basically just called it quits. And my mother grew up real harsh. My mother ended up apologizing and just telling me that that's basically how she was raised. They had they're from DR. They're not, they're from the slums, and in DR. So she had it rough. There's no excuses, but that's basically it. But just having all those elements, I mean, you combine that with, no man in the house. You combine that with alcohol, with weed, with a horrible miseducation. Like Bob Baruzzi teaches, swimming in the sea of insanity, you bound to get wet. So I was in that sea, man, over my head.
Yes, sir. How did that affect your like male-female relationships, knowing that all the women in your family felt so harshly towards men? Did that make you view women a little bit differently along with the hip-hop?
Oh, yeah, most definite. It affects my relationship to this day. As far as just being cold, not learning how to be affectionate, being real guarded, not learning how to communicate properly. The only times that men who like me, who are raised in that type of environment, know how to speak properly to a woman is when they're trying to get some sex out of them. But yeah, it definitely it affected my relationships with women as an adult, and I would say even my relationship with my daughter, my oldest daughter. Yeah, it really, and it takes a lot. We're talking about change, evolution. So once you know the truth, you got to really consciously keep it in your mind, because what the body does when you have been operating under a certain type of thinking and behavior and conditioning, it becomes, I like to call it an autopilot type of behavior. So what happens is when the situation happens, without you even consciously being aware, you start to react. And a lot of times you'll notice, because you'll reflect back on the things that you said or the hurt that you may cause someone, like, man, you start to feel bad about it, feel guilty about it, or wishing that you could have handled that situation better, or knowing that you could have handled that situation better. Then you got to go back and apologize and do this, that, and the fourth. But I think that a person like that is better off than a person who's so egotistical and arrogant that they don't even notice the wrong that they do or the hurt that they do.
Definitely. So you started hanging around the gods and earths, and you learned that the black man is God. But still, a lot of people, they get that message and they stay right there. They'll be selling drugs, doing drugs, pimping women, and still, what, a black man is God, they ain't doing nothing. What was it that made you say, okay, now I need to do some introspection and some internal work and really start to get myself together?
I really don't have a straight up concrete answer to that, because I know exactly what you're talking about, because there was a lot of us who got the information at the same time. And, I'm not trying to put myself on the pedestal. It is what it is. But I would say that I'm the only one who really took that science serious and am still building to this day. But it's really knowing, number one, not stopping with 120. I was always a reader. You know what I'm saying? So I've always read. Even when I was running in the streets, I would read on the low, when reading wasn't cool. I would be reading, cross-referencing material. And it started with trying to prove the lessons wrong. So I just always had this, and still to this day, I got a stack of books next to me now, just this desire to read and learn more and to really challenge myself. It was an inner. I think a lot of it had to do with, too, I was dealing with the Queen about this. I think the fact that I got to travel, I got to travel, meet different people. So I had this state of mind that life wasn't just my block, 10th Ave and 23rd or Patterson. So I always had that perspective that it was more. There was more to life than what was happening or what was occurring. So even with the state of mind of okay, I'm meant to be a hustler, then I wanted to be the biggest hustler. So I always just had this, big thoughts and wanting to do it big. While some people that I noticed in my observation just settled for less. But I just really internalized that information. So I would learn it, and I would do certain things. And start to feel guilty based on the information that I had in my mind. So I'm still like that to this day. As soon as I learn something that makes sense and I find it to be valid and powerful, immediately I start applying it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I know when I first got knowledge, I was basically, well, and plus I was very young too when I got knowledge, but I was starting off just doing things because that's what I was told to do. I would read something in a book and may or may not understand it, and I would just do it because that's what was supposed to be done. I know the NGE works a little bit differently than that. But I noticed over time that I really wasn't happy. I started to feel a little disillusioned, like, man, I was happier before I had knowledge of self. I mean, dang, what's this about? And there's a couple times that I kind of went off and started doing my own thing. I still believed, but my lifestyle didn't really go along with that because I just was not happy with my situation. So I had to start trying to understand, okay, why do we do things this way? Why do we do things that way? And, reading different things, as you said, self-improvement to see really who I am, because I think that that's essential. I mean, we know Black Man's Guide, we're the original man, all that kind of stuff. But as an individual, and I hate to say individual because it sounds kind of European, but who am I internally, my unique person? What do I have to offer? What do I have to contribute? How do I make this fit me? Because, it doesn't fit everybody. How can I make this fit me? And how can I be happy living this life when I'm still in the midst of all of this chaos? And it took, I don't know, probably 8 or 9 years, at least maybe longer, for me to really get that inner peace and really feel like I was growing and I had found where I needed to be. Did you feel anything similar, or because you came in through the NGE, you were kind of a little bit more free to begin with?
The NGE is definitely more free to be, and that has its pros and cons. I'll probably say it's more cons, you know what I mean? But yeah, I definitely had a similar feeling, and it definitely took a long time before I got it. But it was just an inner calling. When I learned like the Black man was God, and so I would just take that word, okay, supreme being. Okay, what is supreme? Supreme is highly developed. What being? Being to exist. So I would look at that and just say to myself, like, okay, am I existing in a highly developed way? So this was my thinking. So even like, for example, once I learned about the Black woman, and with the Black woman, she's an earth and blah, blah, blah. I remember going to clubs, and mind you, again, this is an overnight process. You know what I mean? It was part of me. This was not an overnight process. But I remember going to clubs and just doing certain things and like, man, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing with sisters. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it was just like this consciousness. And I really just think that people just settle for less. I don't know, or maybe it was the purpose of why, because remember, I got into it not just to learn the information, but I really wanted to learn. I wanted to become a better person, so that from the gate, that was my intention. So I don't know if, people got into it because it was popular at the time, maybe to get more women, maybe to speak better. So I think also you're getting into a situation. The intentions are basically, to me, are one of the most important things. If you go to a job just for money, you'll have a different attitude than someone who goes to a job, let's say, because they really want to sincerely help or they want to climb up the ladder. So it really all depends on your intentions. I just really, even to this day, I got this thing where I don't settle for less. I'm not satisfied. I ran a half marathon last year. I'm striving to get into it. If my knee wasn't hurt, I'll be training for triathlon right now. That's just how, my nature. That's just how I am.
How was your self-esteem when you first got knowledge of self?
My self-esteem, let me think. At the time when I first got knowledge of self, when I received the knowledge of self, my self-esteem, rose. I definitely felt more confidence. I felt like the lights were on. Before that, I had a self-esteem, but it was more, again, kind of, the streets, more into that. It was definitely a much more confident feeling about life. But even reflecting back then to where I am now, I didn't have it. I mean, I would, go to school and, debate with the teachers to the point where the teachers was weak. Well, do you want to teach the class? And I'll be like, yeah, you know. That's another thing too. Like I've always liked to perform and make people laugh. So you mix that with knowledge, you know. But yeah, definitely my self-esteem. I felt like I had something, you know. And a lot of times that's what with the youth, as far as the boys, you know, I can't speak for the sisters. But we just want to have something. You know, I was just building with a brother who has a youth program in South Jersey, and he was telling me how, you know, a 13-year-old came up to him and said, can he teach him how to be a man? So I finally had something that gave me pride to be a man and to be a black man. So I would say that it definitely did something for my self-esteem. And then not only that, but, you know, growing up, you know, thinking that white people were smarter, you know what I'm saying? And they were better people. So then once I learned that these people are devils, you know, they come from the caves. They stole everything from me. You know, they ate raw flesh. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it definitely did something for my self-esteem.
Definitely. Now, since we're talking about evolution and making change, and I know a lot of people are stuck in the rut, because I was stuck in a rut for a long time. When you see aspects of your character today or your situation today that you think could be improved, what steps do you take to do it? I mean, what does that look like? Because people are like, okay, well, yeah, I know I'm messing up, but I mean, what am I going to do about it? And really, the real answer is all you got to do is stop doing what you shouldn't be doing and start doing what you should be doing. But people, you know, even though it's a very clear-cut answer, people don't want to do that. They want, you know, some steps to take. What do you do when you see that, you know, you need to make a change in a certain area? Is it just reading a book, or is it something mental?
It's both. There's a few things that I do. It's definitely mental. Well, you know, it begins with love of self. And not in the European way, of course, but when you really truly love yourself, then you love others. And when you love others, you want to create a positive environment where negativity won't thrive or survive. And in turn, that right there will make you desire change if you see any negativity. But I would say that the steps that I take, definitely reading books, you know, speaking to elders, or if I see a certain quality or character about somebody that I admire or that I appreciate, then I would you know, just pick his brain. That's another thing too that I would say, just going back to receiving knowledge itself. If I had my enlightener, you know, when somebody gives you knowledge itself in the nation of God's earth, you know, you call him your enlightener. So if my enlightener was on the phone right now, he'll tell you that I've always, they used to call me the question man. I questioned everything. So to this day, I still have that same attitude where if I see something, you know, that I like, I think, as a matter of fact, my brother Shabazz, he might be listening now. You know, he's the one that introduced me to, you know, the science of Garvey and being a black nationalist. He'll tell you, you know, that's just what I ask questions. So, you know, just constantly keeping that. And also, you got to have a self-map of who you want to be and where you want to be. Like, the basis of my self-map is black man is God. So everything that I get into, you know, I want to be the best. And again, not in a European way, but just really asking myself, am I giving the best? Am I doing my best? Am I thinking positive? And just, you know, speaking with the elders and asking questions, constantly reading, and always just looking for different ways to improve the character. And I think your association, you know, we heard the saying, association breeds assimilation. To me, that's very true. Because, you know, speaking on my behalf, I had to get out of my environment. I had to stop hanging with certain people. Because I noticed, you know, when I would try to be halfway with it, that either I'm going to pull them up or they're going to pull me down. And that's just it, you know. So especially when it's, you know, when it's more of them than there is you, you know. And I would try to, you know, like I said, I would try to halfway it, so I would be conscious. And, you know, they wanted to go to the club. All right, we'll go to the club, but I won't drink. Or, you know, but I noticed that I would do all the things that they wanted to do, but when I invited them to positive things, lectures or certain events, they wouldn't go. So it was a lopsided situation when I was the only one doing or bending or compromising my morals and standards for them, but they wasn't doing the same for me. But definitely your association. I think that's very important. And understanding that, you know, everything involves, I think we develop these false attachments and allegiance to certain things that we don't have to. They're based on illusions. Loyalty is a great quality, of course, but if whatever you're loyal to or whatever you're connected to is not serving the purpose or is no longer beneficial to the cause or your cause, then I think it would be wise to let it go. I'm not saying you got to be bitter, you got to totally, completely cut them off, but you got to know that once, you know, get off the train, you got to know when to get off the train. You know, you see your stop, you go on the train, you see your stop, you get off the train. You don't just stay on and ride forever. So I think that's basically what I do, just constantly studying and, you know, you got to be open-minded and not open-minded like a European, but open-minded to things because, you know, you're going to be uncomfortable. People are going to check you, you know, tell you certain things about yourself. And, you know, and if they really truly have love for you and they're being honest, then you got to really take that, especially when more than one person is saying the same thing about you.
Yes, sir. I think that's something really critical that you touched on was friendships. I know for me, before knowledge, I really didn't have friends that were too wild. My family was more wild than my friends. So they were okay, but I did notice as I got knowledge of self, a lot of the other people that I was meeting with knowledge of self, even though they had knowledge, were still very, very toxic. They were either negative or they were involved in things they shouldn't be involved in. They would talk about living right, but they really weren't. You know, a lot of them would stab you in the back quicker than a lost bound. So I think that that's definitely something to keep in mind is, you know, if your old buddies are, you know, toxic, then you may want to cut them out. But also when you start making these new alliances, you have to keep your eyes open and make sure that everybody is on the up and up because you may have to leave some of those alone too. And I'd say more of the people I've had to leave alone were people that so-called had knowledge of self. So that's something that I don't think we really look at sometimes. If you're hanging around people that do not share your beliefs necessarily, you know, because even like in the Nation of Islam, somebody may share my religious belief, but that doesn't mean that they're living their life the way that I do. That doesn't mean necessarily that they love black people. That doesn't necessarily mean that they want to do anything in the community. You could just have my same religion and be a miserable, wicked person. So whether they have knowledge or not, just watching who you hang around, because a lot of times you start picking up on their characteristics. When you have problems, you may go to them for advice and their advice is not going to be right necessarily. Just all those little things.
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, I came to the conclusion that, you know, we as a people, we lost the will and determination to change unsatisfactory conditions into satisfactory conditions. You know, anything that requires work or makes us feel uncomfortable, we really don't want to do. You know, a lot of times people are caught up in ego. You know, they just want to complain and blame, and instead of maximizing their potential options and choices. Now, I know who our enemy is, and I know what that demon has done. But even within that realm, you know, we don't really maximize our potential and choices. Like, for example, I know a lot of people who complain about not having money, you know, and they'll blame child support, and I'm on child support. They'll blame child support. They'll blame, you know, I can't get a job or what have you. But if you observe, you know, how they live their lives, you know, they have time to watch TV. They have time to sleep all day. They have time to do all these other things, but they complain about being broke. Why aren't you on your grind? So I just came to that conclusion that even within, again, I know what this devil has done, and I'm very aware of our condition in America. But it's like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said at a lecture, we have to know that, you know, on the chessboard, we're playing defense, offense. You know, and this cracker is playing offense, defense. So once you recognize your position on the chessboard, you got to maximize that potential to the fullest. And I feel like within our state and condition, we're not. So that's something else that I always do. It's really asking myself, am I maximizing my full potential at this moment? Am I maximizing my full options, my choices? You understand what I'm saying? You know, so like, for example, you know, I went to college. And because of, growing up in Patterson the way I did and everything, I basically got a free ride. I had to pay for books. So I got an associate's degree, picked up a trade, something decent. Now, there's a lot of people that grew up just the way, the same way, that just refused to maximize off choices like that. Some of them have their own reasons, excuses. But that's basically what I'm saying. A lot of times we rather just complain and blame and, just sit on our backs when there's other things that we can do. So just keeping that in mind, man, like, we're warriors. It's like this beast beat the will and determination out of us.
I agree. And I think a lot of times, like you were saying, you went and got a trade, and of course, you make music, you do a lot of things, you have a lot of talent. A lot of us really don't realize our talent. It was never developed in us growing up. Especially black males may have been told, you're not anything, you never amount to anything. So a lot of us don't even realize our gifts. So when it comes to making those moves, we might not even know where to start. Sometimes it's not until we get way into our 30s and 40s that we even realize that we have skills and talents that could be utilized.
Right. And even then, once you get to your 30s, then, the new excuse is, it's too late. I'm too old. You know what I mean? And I think as a race of people, and that's why brothers like Marcus Garvey said, up you mighty race. We just bow down. Whether we bow down to the crack or we bowing down to circumstances, we continually just bowing down. It's like, just stand up. And for example, I took a business class, 6-week course before I opened up the bookstore. And the brother spoke about a sister who was complaining about her money situation, and because she was working so hard. So he asked her, well, did you ever think about going into business for yourself? And she said her reply was, it's too hard. So he asked her, oh, okay, well, how many did you try to open up? And she said none. So you see the mentality that we have before even making an attempt to make and change, to make a better condition, to turn an unsatisfactory state into a satisfactory state. The sister said it's too hard. You got brothers that's, blaming things on phobias. I don't do this because, I have a phobia for that. Like, come on, man, you serious? And I just, and I'm really, right now, I'm really disgusted with the state of manhood. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, I have a lot of changes and a lot of improvements I got to do on myself. But I tell you one thing's for sure, I'm going to maximize my potential options and choices.
Yes, sir. I definitely agree. I also have some problems with the state of black manhood as it is today. It could use a lot of work. Also black womanhood, because, at least manhood, unless you're a fag, you at least want to claim some manhood. Women now want to claim manhood too. We don't want womanhood. So, at least y'all kind of on the path. Y'all at least want to be men. We don't even want to be women anymore. We want to be man, woman, and everything else. We got a lot of work to do.
And that's because of power. You know what I mean? Because, in the state that we live in, masculinity is identified with having power. And of course, they, associating themselves with feminism and all of that European stuff. But, and it's just, I'm a rigid person. Like, anybody will tell you that once my mind is set on something, I'm real rigid. And, and rigid, Baba taught us, that being rigid, that's what warriors need. But at the same time, we have to be flexible. But I think that, a lot of people, they waver too much. You know what I'm saying? They just too distracted, or, it's not easy. Like, I wake up at 4:45 a.m. every day to work out. It's not easy. It doesn't feel good every day. Sometimes I don't want to get out of bed. But I do it because of the long-term satisfaction and the health benefits of it. And a lot of it isn't, see, we're caught up with the short sight of instant gratification. You know what I mean? Some things you got to put that work in right now for the long term. As a matter of fact, most of the nation building that we do now, we're not going to see the benefit from it because it's for our children. But that's what warriors do. They don't worry about the instant gratification. They think long term. And Dr. Amos Wilson spoke about that, man. That this cracker sees like 3 generations ahead.
Yes, sir. And I'm over here laughing because I'd say a couple weeks ago I decided I was gonna start exercising again. I couldn't exercise for a long time because my ankle was jacked up for like 4 months, and it's just now getting to the point where it's not sore anymore. I can do some things. So I was like, yeah, Brother True said, he get up, he be in the gym at 5 a.m. every morning. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna get on my treadmill 5 a.m. every morning.
That's right.
I did that for 2 days. And after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to just let Brother True have that. I think I'm going to stay in bed another hour, hour and a half. And yeah, I'm going to let True have that 5 o'clock workout. I need to get back on it.
See, it's all right. When you fall off your horse, just get back on it, sis.
I know. You weren't supposed to talk about that today and make me feel bad. Now I got to go back and reset my alarm clock and actually move it across the room so I don't hit snooze.
That's right. But yeah, so that's what I would say. The most important thing is changing your state of mind. And once if you really have love for yourself, if you truly if you don't start making changes, you know what I mean. Again, it's not easy. It's that's another part of me for jumping back and forth. That's another. We got this conception, in our mind that everything is supposed to be easy and fun. I don't know where we got that from, but not everything isn't fun. Everything isn't going to be easy. Matter of fact, I'm in a beautiful relationship right now with my queen, and everything isn't always fun. You know what I'm saying? Everything isn't easy, but to make it work, it's just what it is. You gotta learn. You gotta be what's the word? You gotta be comfortable with knowing that you're gonna be uncomfortable at times. You know what I mean? And just be willing. Most people do things to avoid pain. They live off avoiding pain opposed to living to gain pleasure. I'm not talking about physical, animalistic pleasure. I'm talking about the pleasure of living a life of satisfaction. You know what I mean? The type of morals and principles and values that we live by. But to make a change, change that state of mind, create a plan, and don't waver. Do not waver off that plan. But you got to have an idea. You got to have some type of morals and values that you live by. You know what I mean? If you don't have that, then, you'll fall for anything. Like they say, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So I have values and morals that I live by. For example, I'm into health. So drinking alcohol, that goes against my values. As a matter of fact, that's another thing. I like money. And when I was an alcoholic, I would constantly lose money. And so once I finally got it that this was a pattern, alcohol, get drunk, miss money. That was an unsatisfactory state. So I had to make a change. So the problem is a lot of people don't make the changes. They just rather complain. Oh, I keep losing money. I'm a horrible person. I'm irresponsible. And instead of doing something about it, for every problem there's a solution. I truly believe that.
You know what? And I'm glad that you say that. And that's kind of what I was getting at earlier a little bit, is just the don't waver part. Because really when people come to me and they're like, well, I'm not happy about this and I need to stop doing that. What do I do? And the answer really is just do it, or just don't do it, depending on if you need to stop or start. Once you make up your mind that this is not something that is benefiting me, stop doing it. That's simple. But like I said, a lot of times we want some long drawn out excuse of some meditation we can do and levitate over something, and all of a sudden we'll stop doing it. No, this is not good for me, stop doing it. And it took me so long to get to that point and figure that out. And I'm still not perfect. Like I said, I did that for exercise for 2 days and I was like, psh. So I still have work to do, but I at least am at the point now where I realize if something needs to be done, all I need to do is make up my mind and do it, and it'll be done. There's nothing really that I set my mind to do that I'm not going to be able to do. At most, it's just excuses for things I don't want to do. But if I want to do something, there's nothing I can't do. And that takes a while maybe for people to get to that point, but we have to get to that point because that really is where your godhood or goddesshood comes from.
Right. And, in the nation of God's earth, we grew up not saying certain words. And one of the words that we don't say is try. And we say because trying leads to failure. And Bruce Lee said either you do or do not do. And I think, I was talking to this therapist, and he was saying that, I don't have any references for this, but this is, this is just passing the word. He was saying that most people who are successful in quitting cigarettes, stop cold turkey. And as a matter of fact, I used to smoke cigarettes. So that's true. One day I just stopped, and that's it. It wasn't, I'm just going to have 3 cigarettes a day now opposed to a pack, or I'm just going to have a pack a week. No, you just stop. That's it. You get to a point, you say, you know what, this is my body. You know what I'm saying? My body does not control me. I control it. It works for me. And that's it. You just make the decision to stop. But again, the formula, people rather complain and blame and just be victims. Oh, I can't stop smoking cigarettes. I'm addicted. Oh, I need it because I get stressed out. Well, then you got to find other ways to relieve your stress, or other ways to find pleasure that are more productive and more beneficial. You know what I mean? So like I said, my thing is working out, going to the gym. I find pleasure in that now. I used to find pleasure in other things. You know what I mean? So it really, it's got to change the state of mind. And again, it goes back to those moral values. I just wasn't satisfied with the conditions that I was living in, and and also, let me be real. Part of it had to do too with having children. I had my daughter when I was 19, and so at that moment when I had her, I said I don't want to be like the rest. No, well, number one, growing up, I said I'm not going to be like my father. I was clear on that. I was gonna be there for my children. So that right there was a standard that I made for myself. I was not going to repeat the same cycle. So when my daughter was born in 19, I said, okay, living the life that I'm living, I'm either going to be in jail or dead, and she's going to be raised by someone else. I don't want that to happen. So that's what made me go to school. That's why I said, okay, well, what I need to do? Well, I got to find a different way to make a living. Right now I'm selling drugs and living this lifestyle. I knew I wasn't going to fool myself. I knew that it wasn't a career, so I said, okay. I knew eventually, before having children, believe it or not, as crazy as it's going to sound, I was okay with, I'm going to sell drugs and go to jail. Well, that comes with the package, weigh it, all right, well, it is what it is. You know what I mean? I just didn't care. So, once she was born, I cared now. You know what I mean? That's why I said, loving yourself is very important. So I cared. I wanted the best for her. And me being a father behind bars was not the best thing for her. So I started the process and went back to school and picked up a career and what have you. And I was still hustling. I was going to school and hustling that night. So, and I'm stressing that to tell people that not to beat themselves up when they're not successful in 2 days like you were. We're waking up at 4:30 in the morning, getting on that treadmill. Because it's a process. And remember that just like anything else, before something becomes a habit, you gotta force yourself to do it. You know what I'm saying? So you waking up at 4, I think you said 5 in the morning to get on that treadmill, it's not a habit for you yet. It's a habit. Even though it's a habit for me, again, it's still difficult. I force it. But so just like we have negative habits, we got to create more positive habits. How do you create more positive habits? Well, number one, you got to be introduced to more positive things. Something to do with your life, because if you don't have a substitute, then you're just gonna go back to the old ways. And so just and continuously just strive to stay on that path. You're gonna get weak. I've gotten weak before. I still get weak at times, but I have a goal in mind. I have a roadmap that I follow. And the basis of that roadmap is that the black man is God. And, of course, the basis of that in manhood, warriorhood. So I have a roadmap that I follow. So in the times that I get weak, the times that I waver, I go right back to the morals and values in that roadmap.
Exactly. And we know that God can manifest. So if we aren't manifesting anything, then we need to take a look at that. I had somebody tell me once I used to doubt myself a lot. And they told me, we come from greatness. You sit here and you talk about all these ancestors. You talk about Elijah Muhammad and Marcus Garvey and, all this long line of people. But you come from the same place. You have the same DNA. You're the same people. What makes you think that these people are so great, but you're not? And that kind of changed it a little bit and put it into perspective, because a lot of times living in America, we've been taught that we are just like these wretched, useless human beings. And we forget where we came from. We forget who we are. We forget the potential that we have, and all we have to do is manifest it.
Oh, man, sis, how can I forget that? Yes, that's very, very, very important. Knowing your lineage, you are absolutely right. That also played a major part. You know, I want to say this too, you know, for anybody who's listening, don't understand that it wasn't just one thing. It wasn't just reading Malcolm's book. It wasn't just, you know, having my daughter. It wasn't just, you know, stopping the alcohol. You know, the queen, man, when I first met her, she would always tell me, because I tend to be an extreme person, life is not linear. You know, it's holistic. So it's not just one thing. It's a combination of things. Remember, we're the original man and woman. We deal with a holistic point of view. You know, if we feel sick, we don't just, you know, we don't stop with the body. You know, we ask ourselves the thinking, you know what I'm saying, the energy that's around, all those things. We question all those things. So it's a multitude of things, and definitely, again, like you said, knowing your lineage, knowing I come from greatness. So why am I not in a great situation right now? Okay, we know who the beast is. We know our condition. Is that it? It's a wrap for us? we just going to be in the slums forever? We just going to be gangbangers forever? We just going to be broke, unemployed, waiting for a mystery God to save us forever? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's very important, sis. Yes, that had a major impact in my life as well. When I started to realize we were kings and queens. We were strong people. As a matter of fact, when I was young, we would watch gangster flicks, you know, and idolize these Italian gangsters. I was happy to hear about Bumpy Johnson, a black gangster from Harlem. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, definite.
Yes, sir. Now, do you mind if we take a couple of calls?
Oh, most sis, whatever. Yeah, well, let's do it.
Okay. Anybody that wants to call in, the number is 760-569-7676. Participation code 948656#. We are talking to Brother True from United Front about New Year's evolution, how to do some self-improvement and actually become good examples of what we preach. All right. First caller, my other brother. How you doing?
Peace, family.
Peace.
What's going on? What's going on with you?
Nothing. Hanging in there. How have you been?
I'm doing great. You know, my born day was just 2 days ago, so I'm having like a week-long born day celebration, just being very, you know, just being peace, just being real peace right now.
Yes, sir. And I done told you happy birthday about 5 times, but I'll tell you again.
Quayle, what's good, my brother?
BB4ODA, Warrior, what's the sign?
BB4ODA. Man, I'm cooking right now, family, but you know, I'm chilling. Just listening to the program, and you know, I just wanted to drop a jewel on those brothers and sisters that most definitely want to, you know, effectively change something that they want to move forward and do better at. Writing, making notes is very important. You know, a lot of times we just say we're going to do things and then we try for a couple of days and we drop the ball. I think it's great to make a list. If you compile a list of 10 things you want to do, and you'll notice that you'll get a good chunk of them done. Like, you might not get everything done, but it's definitely much better than just freestyling, because you'll do nothing. You won't accomplish anything. You know, so for those brothers and sisters that are listening to the show, you know, being inspired by the brother, you know what I mean, that's definitely one of the things that helped me, you know, accomplish a lot.
Indeed, I agree with that, brother, and I also use that tool, just writing an outline of things that I want to accomplish. As a matter of fact, for my born day every year, what I do is I just sit back and write all the things that I've done and all the things that I want to do. And again, having that roadmap. And while I have the brother on the phone, I spoke earlier about when you have somebody, when you meet, you know, when you ask me what are the things that I do, I read books and different things. But also when you have someone in your cipher, like for example, the brother Omar Wali, he's a very organized person. Now, organization is something that I have trouble with. You know what I'm saying? So I watched the brother, ask him questions. As a matter of fact, he gave me a gift. He gave me something to help me be more organized. So again, it's swallowing that ego. You know what I mean? Swallowing that pride to say, I need help in this. Can you help me with this? You know, and if you have, again, that association that we spoke about, association breeds assimilation. So if you have that positive association that's around you that really want to see you do better because they understand that you are a reflection of them, we are all each other, extension of each other, then, you know, they're going to help out. They're going to tell you whatever strengths, because we all have strengths and weaknesses and gifts and talents. So that's one of the brother's strong points. He's a very organized, very detail-oriented person. So, you know, again, when I was having an issue with that in my life, I'm going to tell you, brother, how many times have I called you, man, with like a stack of books and papers on my desk, and you've given me the mic?
Oh, man, not too many to really mention, you know. But, you know, but the brother has a desire to do better, and that's what I love about the brother. You know, not to take up too much time, but what I also want to say, you know, is that for what it's worth, I could attest to the brother's improvement and involvement. You know, the short period of time I've been around him, you know, the brother is definitely a man of his word. And if anybody knows me, they know how much that means to me. You know, I keep it real and let people know, like, I'm not the type of person that ever really, I'm not a fall in line type of person. I never subscribe to any specific ideology. I basically extract the best part, you know, and work and use what works for me. And growing up in Brooklyn, New York, a lot of the brothers and sisters that came up in the nation of gods and earth, you know what I mean, were hypocrites. I grew up around a lot of hypocrites. I thought the Father said nation of gods and earth was a joke, just to be honest. It wasn't until I met the brother and another brother by the name of Glorious Asiatic where I knew that there was some strong brothers and sisters. And it's like from there, the snowball effect of meeting more and more strong and effective brothers and sisters within that organization. So, you know, I just wanted to give the brother his salute, you know, for being a stand-up warrior, you know.
I appreciate that, brother. And, you know, I use that like stuff to model after, brother.
And I think
I appreciate that, brother.
I think I have two things to add on to that. The first, going back to what you were saying about writing things down, I think that's excellent. That's something that I've been doing more lately. A brother had told me, actually, a brother who did my book cover for me that'll be coming out soon. I was at one of his lectures, and he was saying...
Shameless plug.
I know, gotta throw it in. Peace to Brother Keith Young. But he was doing a lecture, and he lectures a lot on metaphysics and self-improvement and just different things. But at this lecture, he was saying how your creativity usually peaks right before you go to bed and right before you're waking up, right when you're in that in-between time in your consciousness where you're almost awake, not quite awake. And that's when a lot of ideas come to you. So he was saying, keep a notebook by your bed and write down any thoughts that you have around that time, because you'll notice that you'll have a lot of thoughts coming to you, but you won't be able to recall them later. And I'm too lazy.
That's true.
Yes, sir. I'm too lazy to do that, so I just keep my cell phone now and I just do a quick voice note. And I get on my husband's nerves. He's like, shut up. But
you know what's funny?
What's that?
I just told somebody just that. When I was like totally immersed in hip hop as a youth, I always noticed that I would start a song and go to sleep, I'd either jump out my sleep with the verse finished, or in the morning I'd finish it. You know, because, you know, when the thing about that is like that's when your brain is doing a maximum amount of work, because you're not busy, you're not preoccupied with other things. You know, when we sleep, you know, our organs and those things are still moving, they're still working. You know, so that's a real science right there. That's absolutely true.
Yes, sir. And then the other thing that I'm going to say, and this is more for women that may be listening, because a lot of us have real issues with black men, and of course black men have issues with us. And people look at me and think that I don't suffer from that, and I definitely suffer from that as well. And when I met my husband and saw what a decent person he was, that definitely began the healing process of looking at black men in a different way. But it took me so far because I'm like, okay, but he's the only one. He's the only good black man on the planet. The rest of them are out there. But recently, being more involved with War on the Horizon and meeting brothers like Jeannie and True and Brother Omawali and just everybody, I've seen such a different example of black men than what I'm used to, and it opened my eyes to see, okay, my husband is not the only, decent person out there, and it actually has begun to make me look at brothers a little differently when I see them on the street. I was never rude. I was always very polite, but, in the back of your mind, sometimes as a woman, you're still like, man, these brothers, I wish they get their stuff together. So I'd like to thank both of you definitely for being just a very good example of really upright and decent people, because the more we see people like you, the more we can get the degenerates out of our mind and have a different example of manhood. So I definitely thank my husband. I thank you brothers for being that example.
Santi Sana, sis.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate that, sis.
Yeah, we definitely got to raise the standard. You know what I mean? That's another thing that lacks in our community. We just settling for these low standards. And sis, I want to go back to the with you doing the voice note. And that's what I'm saying. See, at that moment, you maximize your choice and options. So you said, okay, me waking up in the morning, writing something down in a notebook, that's not working for me. So you're using your cell phone. I'm good with that, because instead of saying, you know what, I can't do it, I just don't have it, I can't wake up and write in a notebook, it's too hard. You said, nah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use my cell phone. And that's what I'm saying. It's something that simple that's big, because now we got more work done. Now we get to let those creative, juices flow. It's little things like that also develop habits of not just settling with it can't be done. I'm going to find a way to make it done or to get it done.
That's right, because I'm too lazy to reach over and turn on a light and look for a pen and cell phone.
Yeah, so
yes,
that's big. Yeah, you maximize your choices, options, and potential.
Yes, sir. Did you have anything else you wanted to add, Brother O?
No. That's about it. I'm just gearing up for, coming back on the show, addressing one of these important topics that you always come up with, sister. I just want to give you your props. Like, you definitely come up with some simple but relevant topics, and, just keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Brother Quayle?
Yes, sir.
You already know. I wouldn't be me unless I said it. Go to strongreads.com. Everybody out there, if you're looking for your books, the brother got it. Help the brother out. Support black business.
Appreciate that, man.
And the ambassador, Cypher Incomplete, coming soon.
Yes, sir.
That's right. All right.
Knocking it down. Appreciate that, big bro.
Yes, yes.
Peace.
All right, peace, family.
Peace.
Peace.
Viva Hodie. Now you gonna talk about me from
a lot of great characters, man. Great characteristics. You know what I'm saying? That I wanna just to model after. I think I mentioned this before when we had the last time we spoke of the show. The Queen is always saying, "Man, I wish Omawali lived here." You know what I mean? The brother's just a stand-up person, and again, it's taking what you see in a person and adding it to yourself. You see something you like about a person, you know what I mean? Then, take that, ask, how does that, there's no need to make it difficult. There's really nothing difficult. I tell my children this all the time. Whenever they say the word hard or difficult, I give them that look, and they know what it is, because there's nothing that's hard or difficult. To me, there's nothing that's hard or difficult. There's just a process that has to take place. Again, having that mind state, the words that you use, it's so hard. It's not hard. I mean, of course it's going to be challenging. If you just started waking up at 5 in the morning, of course it's going to be challenging. Of course it's not going to feel good at first. Of course you're not going to, you might wake up late a few times. You just started it. There's a process involved, and that's what we lost. We lost respect for the process because we're so caught up with instant gratification. And, you know, and that's why we're not solving our long-term issues. You know, we keep trying to use these short-term solutions, these Band-Aid fixes, if you will, for long-term problems. You know what I mean? Or we just give up. It's too hard. It's too difficult. Putting my hands up.
That's definitely true, because my normal routine up to now is roll out of bed around 5:30, say my prayer, and roll my butt right back into bed. So that getting up, staying up, and exercising, I'm going to work on it, though. But I do just want to point out, Brother O, talking about I'm promoing. He just promoted like 5 million things. But see, I was very intelligent. For everybody listening, we're going to come on and do a Valentine's Day show, which the men probably will love, and the women maybe not so much. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I made sure to have him on like a couple days after my anniversary. So we might mess up Valentine's Day for everybody else, but I still get my anniversary intact. So
that's right.
That's right. I be playing and stuff because I know he going to come on there, and then I ain't going to get no flowers, no nothing. All right. Next call, 4446. You're live.
Peace, Daddy.
Oh, peace, princess. BB448.
I was listening, and I like that you said that it wasn't difficult. It was just a process, and it's not hard. It's just a process, or it's just challenging.
That's right. And don't I always tell you that?
Yes.
Okay. So is there anything in this world that you cannot accomplish?
No.
All right. That's what it is. As long as you know that, then you're already, you know, way ahead of me.
Yep.
You got any questions for me?
Hapana.
All right. Tell them what Hapana means for all the people who don't know Kiswahili.
No, Kiswahili. It means no Kiswahili.
All right. You got any questions for the wonderful queen, Sister Shabazz?
Hapana.
All right. Well, we appreciate you checking in. I appreciate the support. That really, really, really means a lot to me.
I appreciate yourself.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in. Peace.
Peace.
Black power.
Y'all be giving me the cutest moments in War on the Horizon history. I think the one last time Brother O was on and y'all had the children wishing each other happy birthday. Y'all just trying to do all the cute stuff and be all heartwarming.
That's right. You know, we don't separate it, man. I know a lot of people who claim to be conscious, and you know, when you don't find them with their children.
Mm-hmm.
They go to events and you know they don't have their children with them. And you know, I don't mean to throw no stones at no one, but you look at their mate, and their mate isn't reflecting what they talk about they living. And, you know, I can understand if, you know, you were with somebody for a long time, and then you found this information, and y'all making it work. But I don't think that there's no excuses for not teaching the babies, not bringing them to lectures, not bringing them to the events, not teaching them. Like, to me, that doesn't make any sense. You know, a lot of people, they claim that I'm teaching my children to hate whites. You know what I mean? And I tell them, well, your lack of teaching them anything is teaching them to love and idolize and worship whites. So which one would you rather have?
You know what? And I know I'm not going to get this quote exactly right, but Jeannie had a show a few weeks ago with a mother whose son had been murdered by, she's not even sure who did it. He was in a white fraternity, and she said, I failed as a parent because I didn't know that white people were still my enemy. And I was just speechless. After she said that, I was just done for the night. I was like, I don't even know what you say after that. But that's something that we really need to start thinking about if we're not educating our children. If we really believe what we say we believe, and we're not passing it down to our children, then we're not being parents.
Right. People claim to be nation builders or talk nation this, nation that. Well, the most valuable asset of any nation is the children. So how can you even utter those words or that word nation if you're not teaching your child or children?
Exactly.
Right. And back to the topic at hand, our condition isn't going to change if you're not teaching your children to do better. So you're just going to, how you have all this great information, but you're not teaching your children, then, basically we're on a hamster wheel. Once again, with the next generation, got to start from level 1.
Exactly, because they are the change. The children are the change because they haven't been indoctrinated the way that we have. So if you just let your children go through the same thing you've been through, that's absolutely, you just wasted your time, because you're going to get older, you're going to die, and your child's going to be going through the same thing when they should have been the change. They should have started out with a clean slate and been on a completely different level than we were. They shouldn't even know about some of the things they should know about the things we had to go through, but they should never have to experience that. And I like what you said about having your mate reflect too, because I always I try not to judge necessarily, but I still do. When I see somebody who I really respect and I look at the person they're with like, huh? For real? I mean, I just don't understand that. I married the masculine version of myself. He's a little nicer than me, but other than that, like me and my husband are the same person. I don't understand how you can have some kind of high belief system, and the person you're with doesn't represent that at all.
Right, exactly. And even like with the mother of my 2 children, people would always tell me when I was unhappy, dissatisfied, when something's not going according to your principles, values, and morals, or on the path the way you want it to be, then that's a sign that a change needs to be taking place. Mm-hmm. So when I was taking the necessary steps of making those changes, right, people were telling me, oh, don't do it, it's cheaper to keep her, she's going to put you on child support and all these things. So again, in trying to, and I'm saying trying because they failed, trying to have me get in a position where I'm avoiding struggle, avoiding pain, and just live a miserable, unhappy life. And I said, no. Whatever comes with that challenge, I'm going to do it. Because I'm looking at the long-term satisfaction, happiness, and it's a struggle. We're going to have a show on that. It's a struggle. It's a painful that to this day, not having my children with me, the financial, situations because of child support, sometimes it brings me to tears. But you know what? I'm a warrior, and we're going to keep it flowing, and we're going to make it happen. I went, all that, just, again, having no standards. What is that? It's cheaper to keep her. What is that? You know what I mean? Like, I got higher standards than that. I'd rather go through the flame than just settle for something less.
That's true. I talk about that quite a bit with relationships. What I have come to realize, because I have a successful relationship and I've had relationships that were not successful. When you're going through those problems, there has to definitely be a change. And that change can be one of 2 things. Either you put your head together and you decide we're both going to work and do whatever it takes to make this right. Or if you cannot come to that agreement, if you know that it just wasn't meant to be, then you have to let it go. But there can be no in the middle. You're going to be miserable. Both of you are just going to make each other miserable, and you're going to wish you would have made one of those other 2 decisions.
Right, exactly. I'd rather be happy with a little bit of money in my pocket and miserable with a lot of money in my pocket that I probably use in a destructive,
right.
You know what I mean?
Right, right. Definitely. All right, let's see here. Next caller, 2635, you're live. 2635. All right, I will assume that you are just listening in. 5469, you're live. 5469. Okay, and we have had a lot of newer callers lately, so I know a lot of you are just listening in, getting a feel for the War on the Horizon lineup. That is absolutely fine. If I come to your line, if you're just listening, it's fine to just say you're just listening, or if you want to remain quiet, whatever makes you comfortable. 1367, you're live. 1367. Okay. 4119, you're live.
Hey, peace, Sister Shabazz. This is Brother Sharif.
Peace, my brother. How you doing?
How you doing, sis?
Good, good. Excellent job on the program last night.
Thanks, sis. You did a great job yourself.
Thank you.
I didn't catch the brother's name because I came in a little bit late, but just want to tell you I'm proud of you, brother. I think you're a little bit younger than me. Me and Sister Shabazz was talking the other day. Wish we could just come up with some kind of remedy to transform our youth the way you made your transformation, because I work with the youth. I know you said you had some struggles with substance abuse. I'm a substance abuse counselor, and I really grind with the youth, and it's really hard for me sometimes because it just seems like a lot of my work is going down the drain because I see so many of them, going the opposite way, just killing each other like flies. A lot of times with these shows, we do what we can, but a lot of times it seems like we're preaching to the choir. Like, how can you as a young brother, how can we, even with our lectures and our events, how can we get the people that don't know? You know what I mean? That's always my objective when I do things, is get the people that don't know. Like, what do you think about that, bro?
Oh man, peace, brother Sharif, and I appreciate your words, brother. They really do inspire me and motivate me to keep flowing. A few things I would say is, the youth, they feel like they don't relate. They don't relate to you, and I mean you as a person. I mean in general, for us who live in this lifestyle, it's the fact that they don't feel like we relate to them. It's the fact that we're not in power. The youth, especially young men, they want power. They want something that's gonna give them power. And the lifestyle that we live, it really doesn't. You really have to be special, to really want to do this, because we're not the winning team, we're not the majority team, and also right now we're not in a position of power. As a matter of fact, a good brother of mine, just to share a quick story, brother Sean Bay, he told me it was Rick Ross, the rapper. He's having some issues with what gang was it out in Chicago? I forgot, and I don't want to.
I know what you're talking about, because he was supposed to come down this way. I'm in North Carolina, and he had to cancel his tour. So I think I know.
Okay.
The BD gang or the Gangster Disciples or something.
Yeah, one of those gangs. Forgive me, I forgot the name. But anyway, to make a long story short, so he's beefing with these brothers, and these brothers basically made him cancel his tour. You know what I'm saying? Now, if you know Rick Ross, if you listen to his music, then you know that he's all about making money. So the fact that these gangsters, you know what I'm saying, who we look down upon, and call them uncivilized, had the power to stop him from doing his shows. Now, meanwhile, he did a song with Malcolm X's name, disrespecting Islam, and of course, he does numerous songs disrespecting women and what have you, and the conscious community did nothing about it. And then when you see our babies get killed, nobody does anything about it. So back to my point, these young brothers, remember, they are naturally, especially the young black boys, growing up to be young black men, at least in age, maybe not mentally, it's natural for them to want to acquire power. So they don't have the power, and also, it's all about the resources. How can this lifestyle benefit them? And for example, like myself and others, we are developing a rite to passage program for the youth. But then it came to me, a brother shared with me that on the continent, when the young brothers go through a rite to passage, they get something out of it. You know what I mean? Whether it's a house, they get married, a small piece of land for themselves. So it's not just about going through the rite to passage, but it's also about, you went through this rigorous training, you're a man now, here you go. So we don't have nothing for them besides, what they would consider rhetoric. So I think those things, just the fact that they don't feel we relate to them, and a lot of times when we go through to these lectures, we're talking down at them. You know what I mean? Like, I remember I went to a lecture, and a brother was talking about, these brothers walking around with their Timbs and this, that, and the third, and like, I feel them, but being the youth inside the crowd, you're not going to be comfortable, because you're feeling like they're throwing shots at you. And I feel like if you have an issue with how they're spending their money, then we should address the miseducation or the lack of our youth being taught of how to spend their money wisely, opposed to, how they're dressing. Of course, sagging and stuff like that. That needs to be addressed. But you get what I'm saying, though, brother?
Oh, yeah, definitely. And I'm glad you mentioned the Rites of Passage, because I'm the Black History instructor and a mentor for an organization called the Rites of Passage here in North Carolina. But, like you said, it really doesn't have much power because it's been infiltrated by the enemy. It's on the campus of North Carolina Central University, which is used to be one of the most prestigious Black colleges in America. But I teach on that campus all the time through the Rites of Passage, and easily, by my own eyes and other conscious people, 40 to 50% of that campus, including the faculty, is homosexual. So, what has happened to that group. So if I get up there and teach, something against that, they want to shut me down. They've all but almost banned me from speaking, on that campus. I did a lecture on substance abuse a couple weeks ago, and I had to jump through hoops just to make it work. We had to deflect some guy that came in that he makes a visit there about once or twice a year to get our funding, because he's on the board, which is crazy that we have to get our funding from them. We had to distract him in another room while I was in another room giving a lecture to the parents because they wanted to hear what I had to say. That's what we had to go through. So it's messed up. And like you said, I think me and Sister Shabazz was talking about this. We can't expect them to give up their lifestyle and to come to what? Right. It's like the old saying goes, if you're going to quit your job, unless you have some backup, you should have another job or something equal to it to replace that. So exactly. This is their lifestyle, and we really don't have nothing. Bottom line is Willie Lynch, whether he was an actual person or not, but the theory stands, he has done a skillful job on us, and he has created an atmosphere for us to, like you were saying earlier about, changing your thinking and not having that confidence in yourself. And our sister said that he's done a skillful job in just destroying the confidence, of not just our youth but our adults.
Right, definitely. And speaking about the boys, just and the false illusion of what a man is. So what can a conscious man really show him that is manly besides just talk? So that's why, my personal opinion, why we're losing a lot of the youth. And we got to remember that this is their world. Just like I remember being in the state of mind that my world is based on hustling, and that I'm going to wear baggy jeans for the rest of my life. And I really thought that. So it was my world, and we sometimes forget that that's their world. And they're not trying to let anybody else in and not get out unless they see something better. But I will say this, this is, for yourself, brother, and anybody else who's listening, definitely don't give up on the youth, you know what I mean? Because, like I said, I was one of them. I was in class, getting in trouble, getting, kicked out, in-school suspension, outside suspension, you know what I mean? Remember at one point in time, they put me in a slow class, you know what I mean? Now, I graduated college with high honors, but in high school for quite a little bit of time, I was in a slow class, and that's because I just refused to think. I didn't want to do the work. So definitely don't give up. You can give up on the adults. My brother Omawali always says that, man, I'm not teaching no grown man. But, if you want to give up on the adults, I can see that, because a lot of them are set in their ways. But definitely with the youth, man, and it's painful, man. I have issues with my own children, and sometimes I feel like putting my hands up, and just giving up. But, we can't, not with the youth. With these stubborn adults, just let them be. But with the youth, we got to keep striving, my brother.
Definitely, brother. I'm not going to give up. Every time I think I'm about to, something comes along, and someone comes along and says, well, I remember what you told me, or something like that, and then that just gives me more juice to keep on going. So I definitely agree with that statement.
That's right, brother, and I appreciate the work that you're doing, family.
No doubt.
All right. Anything else for us, Brother Sharif?
No, that's it. Y'all keep encouraging the people, especially the youth. I do not want to keep suffering in 2013, and then when 2014 come around, we talking about the same thing we was talking about in 2013, 12, 11, and 10. I want to see some results.
That's right.
I want to see some results. I can't keep doing this.
Right. That's right. You know, but it's easier to talk. You know, and that's why so many of us are doing it. Like even out here in the tri-state area, New York, Jersey, you know, all I see, you know, is basically debates and lectures. That's all that's really happening.
How we debating each other, bro? Right. I ain't calling no names, but you know who they are. All of us that are in this movement, for the most part, I mean, we got some phony cats, but we have different ways of trying to resurrect the mind, body, and soul of our people. Sister Shabazz talks about the black family. Brother Genie talks about, the sexual abuse, and you talk about your transformation. But we all pretty much have the same goal. It's just the river is channeled off different ways, and you're going to sit there and not talk about the originator of our problems, where you want to be debating each other. And what the hell comes out of that?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. That's why one thing I got to say, not to separate north, east, west, south, but one thing about the South, man, is that they're doing things. I've been witness. They got homeschool programs out there. You see actual survival training. I mean, all types of things going on in the South. Up here, ain't nobody doing nothing but doing lectures and debates, man. So yeah, too much talking going on.
Yes, sir.
But that's the like I said, that's the easy thing.
I'll keep up the good work.
You too, my brother.
Thank you so much for calling in, Brother Sharif.
Thank you, sis.
Yes, sir. It's a strong brother actually doing the work, and I agree with that. I do not want to have the same conversation next year, so I'm going to challenge everybody who listens to War on the Horizon to make this the year that we stop talking and start doing some action. If you see something that needs to be done, do it.
That's right.
You ain't got to be done perfectly, but if you see something that needs to be done, do it.
That's right.
It's stuff is so small. If you know the person next door to you is hungry, give them something to eat. You got leftovers. I mean, if you see a child in need of some guidance, guide them. I mean, it's so much stuff that we see on a daily basis. We say, oh, that's messed up. And then we come in our house and turn on a TV. Just do something. Do it.
Oh, you know what, too, sis? Well, I forgot, to mention to the brother Sharif, too. I build that he's still listening. Also, a lot of us are scared of the youth. You know what I mean? I remember even one time, there was a brother who was across the street, young brother smoking the black and mild. I was like, I gotta say something. So I went to the brother, I said, peace, brother. I was like, yo, brother, not trying to be nosy, not trying to be in your business. But yo, man, black and milds aren't good for you, fam. I used to smoke them myself. He told me I need to mind my business. And walked off. But that's what I'm saying. But that's all right, because I know he not in the state of mind. But just the fact that, again, I'm trying to put myself in no pedestal or nothing, but a lot of us are scared. I'm speaking to the men. Are scared to approach these young boys and build with them. You know what I mean? Just talk to them. You don't gotta sound crazy and be all judgmental, but say, hey, man, come in a loving but strong, don't come in no faggoty way either. Just let them know, peace, fam. Yo, fam, why you put your pants up. You know what I mean? How you gonna defend yourself with your pants to your knees? So that's another thing. Your brother Sharif, I forgot to mention that too, man. A lot of people fear the youth.
And you know what? That's so true. When we moved to Detroit, we didn't know anything about Detroit. We bought a house. It was wintertime, so it was snow on the ground. We couldn't tell that it was some abandoned houses. There wasn't no drug dealers out or anything like that. It was cool because it was wintertime. It looked real pristine and clean. Well, when we came back to start rehabbing the house in spring, we found out we moved to the middle of the dope set. Like, this was the dope set. It was just cars lined up down the street buying drugs. And we like, what in the world did we just get ourselves into? But after we were up here a couple months, my husband he was talking to the drug dealers, and some of them were decent people. They kept an eye on the house when he was at work. They made sure nobody came by, nobody messed with me or anything like that. So he started building a rapport with them, and then he would talk to them and say, why are you doing this? You really aren't making any money. The police come through every now and then, bust y'all. Why are you doing it? Found out they didn't feel like they could get a job. They really wasn't familiar with applications, with interviews. They didn't know how. They're like, well, how do I get a job? They didn't even know how to get a job. So he started getting them employed because they were just now getting into selling drugs. They didn't have felonies or anything else. They got them jobs where he was working at, not at the same site, but the same company. And so that built respect for him, number one. And number two, it got them off the street. And after a while, after that first year, they had lost probably about half the drug dealers to him finding them employment. And then there was a police bus that came through and got like half of the ones that were left. So it was maybe 25% of them left. They just packed up and went somewhere else. We don't live in a dope set anymore. And that's because there was a relationship built with them and somebody reaching out their hand to help.
That's the constructive change that we need, not debates and lectures all day. Exactly. That's what we're talking about. Just some homegrown, grassroots, just building. That's it.
Definitely.
That's it. That's how we change, right there.
And we have a couple more calls. People still calling in. Good. I was thinking it was New Year's Eve. I wasn't sure, but people were really interested in this topic. I'm glad to see that because maybe that means we're going to make some changes.
That's right.
9653, you're live. 9653. All right. My brother Bookman, how you feeling?
Oh, no, I'm just listening in.
Just listening in? All right. Peace.
Strong name, Bookman.
And that may have been his brother. I'm not sure. I get them confused. Sometimes they sound pretty similar. Let's see here. 9199, you're live. (9199).
Brother Omawali just texted me. He wanted me to add to Brother Sharif's question. Just remembering that we were once young as well.
That's
we got to
true.
remember that also.
That's true.
When we dealing with the youth, remember that we were young.
That's true. We aren't that old either, so that's also another benefit. Even though things have changed so much that it seems like we're sometimes in a completely different generation, but it wasn't that long ago we were going through some of these same things.
That's right.
All right. 3971, you're live. 3971. All right. 3812, you're live. 3812. Okay. 6534, you're live. 6534. Okay. 4617. 4617.
They doing the knowledge. That's great.
Yes, sir. I'm going to assume that they are just listening in. Anybody else that wants to call, 760-569-7676 and participation code 948656#. I do want to thank everybody that called in to listen. The phone lines are actually lit up, and I know for the last few weeks I've had a lot of new listeners just trying to peep out the program and the War on the Horizon lineup and see what's what. So we do appreciate you calling in, and whenever you feel comfortable enough to ask a question or make a comment, that is absolutely fine. So I guess we can go back to just speaking about the youth a little bit, because as we said, that's really where the change comes in. We're changing, we're evolving, we're becoming better, but it's going to be even easier for them to do because they should start on a different level than we are. How are you going about trying to do that for your own children? I know you're involved in a lot of different things.
Well, I would say right now we're working with a lot of people, different people who's working with the youth. Like we got a family, brother by the name of Born Master and his wife E Queen. They have a home school, and we got a sister named Element who always keeps the youth around her. So we and we started something called Liberation School. And basically that came out of just being dissatisfied with the public school system and miseducation, and also getting tired, back to this, getting tired of complaining. Getting tired of just complaining. And the way that came about, just a real quick, short, brother by the name of Shaka from Harlem, Shaka Shakur, salute to that brother. He once told me how, we're waiting for, there's a lot of things, again, maximizing our options, choices, right? And he told me how, a lot of times we're waiting for this, like, magnificent thing to happen. So we're all talking about we need schools, so we're waiting to get a building, but we all have houses, living rooms, basements, apartments in different areas, so we don't have to wait till we get a building. We can start school in our houses, in our living rooms. So I was like, that's right. And so what am I doing? We basically creating rites of passages, working with Liberation School. Now we have a sister program called Uhuru Shule. And again, just supporting anybody who has a home school and hitting the streets, creating music for the youth. And I'm just making sure that we walk and talk this stuff, because one thing that I realized about the youth, and I'm talking about the young ones, 6, 7, 8 years old, they really look up to us. They look up to us as heroes and sheroes. But what happens is when we don't walk upright and our actions start to contradict, what we say, they start to lose respect for us. But if you really think back, if you have your own children, when they were young, they look at you like you are the world, and you're the, my children think I'm the strongest person on the planet and I could beat everybody up. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But what happens is adults, especially saying comments like, do as I say, not as I do, and I think that's nonsense, Yes. Do as I say and do.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's just about really walking, that model, especially, I have 2 daughters, and knowing that they're watching me closely, how I'm treating my queen, and I can tell them, beat them down, talking about, making sure a man respects you, this, that, and the fourth, and I don't respect my own queen. And, I'm definitely not a perfect man, but what I will say is that I'm striving, and I'm committed. I'm committed to being God. I'm committed to being supreme, because I truly, truly believe that we come from greatness and we are great. So that's basically what we have, and just working with the youth, and we open our doors to anybody who's willing to learn. But just know that this is we do not compromise our position, and we don't mess around. Children are not going to come here and act up. We're going to put them in a place.
That's right. And we have a couple more callers that we can go to. Let's see if they have any questions or comments. 3971, you're live.
Hotel family.
Hotel.
How's everybody doing? This is Shabazz, and who's the other guest?
This is True from United Front.
Peace. Oh, all right. This is Brother Connect. We have a show coming up in a minute, and I was listening in, and I really appreciate hearing some of the younger people speak. There are some issues, though, that we're going to all have to deal with, and one of them is a lot of people just don't want to learn nothing. And even the young people, even though they have their own world, a lot of times it's a world created in ignorance. And it's a barrier to all levels of the community to communicate with them. And it's not just their fault. That's not what I'm saying. And it goes back into the examples that they follow from the adults around them, that they started to have respect for, and then had a disillusionment moment like we all do when we turn into teenagers, where you realize the adults really aren't that smart.
Yeah.
And so it's a problem and a dilemma. But, I agree that the lecture model serves its purpose, and it doesn't reach everybody. But I also know, too, a lot of our people, young and old, are just simply lazy. And we have to figure out a way to make them excited and involved in learning the tools that they'll need to survive. And we're coming from a position where we're devastated. And so, I don't have a necessarily the end-all, be-all solution, but I do know that the Nile is not just a river in Egypt.
And we need to really come out of the denial that a lot of us want to be stupid.
That's right.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, indeed. Now, I guess my question would be is how or why do they want? Why are they choosing to want to be stupid? Understanding that we all have the potential to be great, you know, and I'm definitely not naive to that. But just understanding like how was that developed? That wanting to be stupid, you know, is it because, you know, everything else is dumbed down and being smart is you know,
I don't think they want to be stupid the way it might have sounded, but I think that as a protection for their egos and their lack of power, the powerlessness, they give up on what people consider to be smart. The standards that we put up for what is good for us, what is smart, a lot of that is nonsense, and they can see through it. And so it's not that they're actually stupid, because they're not, but it becomes a defense ego mechanism for the boys and for the girls in some ways. And they get trapped in this shell of what they have had to create to protect themselves.
That's right.
And so I understand that, and I'm not calling them stupid, so I hope they don't get the wrong impression. What I'm saying is a lot of times our society and the conditions we're raised in train us to appear to be stupid as a form of protection.
That's right.
And of us as adults protecting the interests of the children and the community.
That's right. Yeah, indeed. And like you said, just making learning, like even with in Liberation School, we're always striving to, and we ask the children, you know, what can we do to make this thing, you know, better for you? Now, we definitely don't want to just, I remember I heard Dr. Africa say that, you know, I'm not here to teach you how to be a child because you're going to be a child, you know, automatically. I'm here to teach you how to be an adult. But just understanding that at the same time, just constantly letting them know that we're here for them and what can we do to make this better for them. You know what I mean? Like you said, make it pleasing, make it so that learning is desired. And I know one thing, the best results, you know, that I found are the children who are homeschooled across the board. The ones who are isolated, for lack of a better word, from the public school system.
And I agree. And the issue with the homeschooling is that it does protect us from the bigger society. It's not greater. It's just bigger. And the children, even when they resisted at first, that's something that when they hit 15 and 16, they learn to appreciate the protection that it brings. And I don't think enough of the adults are committed enough to pull the children out of the enemy system altogether. And so without that act, the children have the common sense to know ain't nothing gonna ever change, because they still respect Miss Browatsky, the white lady who taught them when they were 5.
Yeah. Indeed.
That's true.
Right, brother. Right.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, Brother Commit. Do you know what the topic of your show is going to be tonight? Brother, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Our topic today will be Bag Lady, You're Gonna Hurt Your Back, the effect the sisters are having on the entire community.
Uh-oh. That's going to be hot.
Sounds powerful.
Yes, sir. Well, we're going to stay tuned for that, but I thank you so much for calling in and supporting. Thank you.
Peace.
Peace. Yes, sir. Ooh, okay. Yeah, we don't listen to that show. That's
yeah.
That's going to be a hot one. All right. Okay, I think this might actually be my brother Bookman. He's probably going to get mad at me for always getting him confused with his brother. Peace, how you doing?
Black Power, sister. How you doing?
Black Power.
All right. Peace, Brother True.
Peace, Black Power, brother.
All right, no doubt, Black Power. I got a question for you, brethren. Where you from, man? What state you? It sounds like you from North Jersey.
Yes, you hit it on the button, family. I'm from Patterson, New Jersey.
Okay. I was raised in Elizabeth.
Okay.
Word. I kind of came in late on the show, but can you put me up to date on what the subject matter was? Because I heard a little bit about it.
The show was basically about change and how can we as individuals as well as a collective, promote change within our lives. So we spoke a little bit about my past and some of the changes that I've done, from even being like, a heavy drinker and weed smoker and to now being health and, vegan into sports and everything else. So basically the show is about change. And how can we go about making change, creating change for ourselves and our people?
But let me ask a question, though. Now, when you become conscious, right, because I'm sure Patterson ain't no different from Elizabeth, from Newark, Merton, from Hackensack, Union City. Now, you become conscious and you begin to gain knowledge of yourself. Don't that itself begin to make you change and look at certain things? Because I, for example, when I started becoming conscious, stopped smoking cigarettes because I had seen a T-shirt that said first they had us picking it, now they had us smoking it. You know what I mean? So like, becoming conscious and gaining knowledge of self and what is it, who we were, where we were. You know what I mean? Just effectively is supposed to bring that change. Do you agree with that? You know what I mean?
I totally agree, but I definitely am aware of people who know better but don't necessarily do better. Even like the subject you just mentioned, you definitely had a strong will and determination, and you obviously love yourself to make that change. But I know a lot of people who can sincerely know that smoking is bad for them, but they just won't quit. And, I would like to say that that's weak. Of course they would argue different, but to me it's just about really just knowing and understanding that you cannot halfway nothing. You know what I mean? Once you see what's right and, just learning that our nature is righteousness. So that's a question that I always ask myself. Whatever I'm doing, is it built on righteousness? And if it's not, then I need to make a change.
True. All right, now, you think when becoming conscious too, right? Just growing up in the hood and how it is now with your peoples and everything. Do you think that transition is also difficult because you're trying to, you know what I mean? You trying to let go of something that you're used to, you know what I mean? Because it's a lifestyle. I kind of heard when you said you used to hustle and everything and, going to school and always getting in trouble and then went to college and then, you had high honors. And when I heard that, I'm like, man, that's me right there. Do you think that transition is hard too? Because I see certain times, right, with older heads now, I'm in my early 30s. But when I meet certain people, like I'll give you an example, my old head from California, right? She's 53 years old. And she went to a school that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad had opened up out there, a high school. And she attended that high school, graduated from that high school, and was dropping some information to me that I would have never known about. But she, was kind of aware, but drew right back into the shit stuff. You know what I mean? And into the general colonial shit stuff set of mind thinking. And I guess, do you think that, just becoming conscious and not having that support, especially in the particular environment you may be in, wherever you are, could kind of draw you back or just kind of make you, as you just said, gets weak or not strong-minded enough to go about?
You know what? You are absolutely right. Because earlier we spoke about a holistic perspective and that everything is not linear. So it wasn't just for me just reading the books. It was actually leaving Patterson that helped me. Now, I'm not saying that that's what everybody got to do, but I sincerely believe that my success, and of course I'm working on my success, that doesn't stop, but my success helped when I left. That made my success easier. I don't think I would have been as successful if I would have stayed because, number one, as soon as I would have got in a tight situation, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you to say that I wouldn't have went back to selling drugs or that, I wouldn't have went back to drinking. So what helped me was definitely not associating with certain people and leaving my block. I don't even live in Patterson anymore. So I think that helped with my success. Now, I'm strong enough to be in that environment now, and, it's nothing. But at the time when I was making my transition, then definitely, I think, I don't know if I would have been strong enough, brother. I'm going to be honest, from man to man. I don't know if I would have been strong enough. Staying within that same environment that nurtured who I was at the time.
True. Now, did you find when you came? Now, this is the last question. Just because I ain't gonna say necessarily that it's power and love, but I do feel where you're coming from, because, you know, I actually moved, then I gained consciousness and then came back. But, you know, just growing up, and again, you know, just hearing my cousins growing up in the early 90s and just hearing them, you know, always gave me like a racial awareness. You know what I mean? But they was the ones we had to stay away from. You know, drug dealers in my family, you know, as long as they believed in Jesus, everything was cool, because God was always going to bring them back. Right. You know what I mean? And then we started following their patterns and so forth, and then, anyway. But when you came back, did you find it easier to talk to your peoples on the Ave in terms of what you was presenting, and how did they receive it, if you did?
Definitely, as far as being easier to talk, you know, they knew me growing up in the Nation of Gods and Earths. You know, I gained knowledge of self when I was 16. So even when I was amongst doing my dirt, I was still, you know, building and whatever, what have you. But my actions were just contradicting, you know what I'm saying, my words. But so I would say that I was always known to be a builder, quote unquote, to be a builder, and you know, and a positive person overall, even though I was doing negative things. So it was definitely received well, but it didn't really have an impact as far as, you know, transformation. And like I said, just being for me, what I noticed that if I would have stayed, either I was bringing them up or they were going to pull me back down. Now, the conflicting issue that I have with that, and I think it's the same thing that you're saying, is that if we all leave, then who's going to do the work? So definitely we either got to come back, or some of us got to develop the will and determination to stay and, you know, have our transition and don't leave. One of the issues, I spoke to a professor who grew up in the 60s and the 70s and went to from Patterson, and I asked her, what happened to the city? And she said, well, all the professionals moved out. You know what I mean? So now the children, they don't see any other option or any other, you know, any other type of behavior but what they see. So if everybody leaves, then who's doing the work? Who's staying and building? So I guess that's the conflict that we're dealing with.
Plus, what Small has created that generous subculture. That's the only thing that they're getting fed, because they see the vacuum that they left. And, you know, that's just what they consistently feeding them. Because I do talk to the youths in my area. I do reason with them and break things down to them. You know what I mean? Right. And they're more than receptive. It's just that a lot of times they, you know, it's a conflict because they hear it. It makes a lot of sense. But then, you know, now you're taking them out of that comfort level, of that level of being complicit in what is it they're doing. You know what I mean? And growing up, hearing it, and their older brothers and their older sisters hear what is it, you know what I mean? They see what they're doing. And, you know, they're maturing now. But then again, I tell them, you know, I'm not here to indoctrinate you. I'm here to educate you. I don't want you to think as I think. I want you to be able to think for yourself. You know, a lot of times they are receptive. That's why I think, I don't know, one of you brothers did the song. It's called What If. Man, that song is a zone-out song, bro. That song speaks up.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I do have to say that we are like right at the 9 o'clock hour, so we have to start winding down. I agree. I love that song too. Was there anything else that you had for us before we start wrapping up, Brother Boukman?
No, that's it, sister. Black power and one love. You know, one black divine love.
So, hey, Brother Boukman, give the sis your information, brother, you know, so we can link. Let's build, especially, you know, if you're traveling back and forth to Jersey, you know, let's link.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, bro. Yeah, lead us your information with the sis. We'll link.
Definitely. And what you can do so that you don't have to do it on air is if you email it to liberation@waronthehorizon.com and just let them know to give that to Brother True, and we will definitely make that happen so that we can keep your privacy and everything.
Indeed.
Definitely good things.
All right. Well, thank you.
One black power, brother.
Black power.
Definitely. That's a very, very strong brother. He's always supporting the show. We definitely appreciate him.
Definitely.
Did you have any closing words, Brother True?
I would say, you know, there's a proverb that says, when the music changes, so does the dance. So let's just be conscious with our decision making. Let's make sure that we're not being controlled by our circumstances, being victim by our circumstances or mental conditioning or past conditionings or fear or even mass influence and ego. And let's raise the standards, black family. Let's be conscious of our decisions. Let's walk upright, like Thomas and Carol said. And You know, let's walk that path, create that map of gods and goddesses, kings and queens. Stop talking about it and act like that. And, you know, let's make it happen.
Thank you so much again for being the guest on my show. I'm so glad. This was actually, I'm not going to take credit for it. I could, but I'm not going to. This was your idea for the show, and it was a great show. So thank you so much. And if you have any other brainstorms, please let me know, because you always have wonderful ideas.
I appreciate that, sister. I'm inspired by you.
And I appreciate you. I already let you know. Y'all have totally inspired me, and a lot of the work that I do and a lot of things I say, I would not be as inspired to do and say had I not come into contact with brothers such as yourself and some of our partners. So thank you so much, and I will definitely be talking to you soon.
Indeed. To all the warriors, you know, I know that sometimes it gets difficult, but remember, there's no such thing as difficult or hard. It's just a process, and we just got to keep it going. It's for the babies.
Yes, sir. Well, you have a good evening, and peace of Bibi Fahodie, and we'll be talking.
Peace, Bibi Fahodie, Queen.
Peace. All right. Well, I would like to thank everybody for tuning in today. I hope that you got something out of this program and that we are going to start to really try to make changes, stop talking about it, and start being about it. We all know the internal work that we need to do, things that need to be healed, things that need to be changed, so that we won't have to have this conversation again this time next year. So as we said, stay tuned for the Cypher. The program is going to be Bag Lady. You going to hurt your back, tearing up the community like that. That's going to be hot. So you stay tuned for Brother DJ and Brother Commit, and we will see you in 2 weeks with another show I have in the works. If everything works out, you're going to love this one. So we will see you then. Peace.